something that I'm worrying about is finding a job. And I guess a question that really perplexes me, or a question that I want to know is, as recent grads of CSU or any other university, what skills should we be improving when going out to look for a career, and what form of journalism should we be going into when looking for a career?
I think I'll start and to adapt to your question. First and foremost, I hope the majority of you are taking advantage of your time here at Cleveland State, being in a downtown urban core, taking opportunities and taking advantage of being able to get out, and whatever your niche is that you want to get involved in. You have got a downtown setting here with a large market where you can go knock on a door and sit and talk to people like us at this table and anyone in any industry from an informational perspective to start networking. That is the number one element that you need to do, is start going out, knocking on doors, introducing yourself, in addition to having that degree. But having experience outside the classroom is such a vital key. And I think that's the main emphasis that I come from and believing in, because that's what I did when I was a student at Cleveland State. I've been blessed to be in the sports communication industry for nearly 2 decades. I've been with 3 different organizations, all here in Cleveland. Minor league hockey team, the NFL franchise, and also the Mid-American Conference now. But you're going to be out there in the workplace competing with a lot of other people that have a lot of experience. And from that standpoint, you're going to have to be able to be adaptable and be willing to relocate, be willing to have different skill sets. But it gets back to the core. If you have the skills of writing, that is one of the most important elements and skill sets that you can bring to any employer. Time management skills, technology, all those elements, you need to be able to be prepared and, quite frankly, be patient.
Those 2 questions, right? It was, what skills should you have, and what job are you most likely to want to go out and what job should you try to see? Yes. Okay, skills. It would be easy for us to say online, and that is true. You should be able to work in something in addition to print. You should have some online skills, whether that's blogging or audio and video. Maybe you probably already know that by now. But there's some basic skills that you need as much now as people of previous generations did. Just the ability to write a catchy lead, really important. I have to admit that sometimes when I'm looking at the clips of the clips of applicants to our editorial internships, I have to admit I don't always read the entire story, but I will always read every lead. And it's a question of, can you summarize, can you interest, can you grab me, can you write in an entertaining and engaging way? And then the other thing, as simple as it might be, is just do a lot of interviewing, and that's to learn interviewing itself, but it's also to learn to just be able to think on your feet and to talk under pressure and to be able to just walk up to anybody and start a conversation, because a lot of us got into journalism. Well, some people got into journalism because they just loved talking to people naturally, and that was like always the best thing for them, or the biggest thing that they ever did, even when they were 12 or something. They were just chatty people. Some of us were shy at some point at the very beginning of our journalism career, and had to get over that real fast.
Let me answer your second question first, which is, what should you go into? I think you've got to follow your passion. If what you want to do more than anything is to write long-form stories, give it a try. It is not going to be easy to go get that job right now, but if that's what you want to do, you should do that. On the other hand, you've also got to be willing to be flexible and adapt to the realities. But I really encourage people to do what's in their hearts, because you're going to be the best at that, because it's what you care the most about. In terms of skills, the world is full of people who absolutely cannot write. It is astonishing how poorly most people write. So if you can write effectively, if you can sell your ideas in writing, you've already got a real big step up on a lot of people. The other thing that hasn't gotten mentioned here yet, and I think journalism is good training for this, is critical thinking skills. So, when you're out there doing interviews, you write down what people say, but then when you go to your computer to write that story, or you blog it or if you do a video about it, you're not just going to regurgitate that. You're going to make some sort of sense about that for readers. You're going to put what's most important first. You're going to try to synthesize the ideas that somebody gave you. So those critical thinking skills are very important. And finally, I would say that since many of the people in this room are younger than the people at this table, you've got a real built-in advantage, and you shouldn't forget it, which is you have come of age in the digital world. We are learning. So I have to go to somebody and say, okay, what button do I push to do this? And are you sure if I do that it won't blow up or something won't go terribly wrong or the whole thing won't disappear? You know, a lot of us, it is a very learned behavior. For so many of you, it's second nature, and that's a huge advantage. And I'll just tell you one real quick story. We had some interns last summer, and the way it always used to be with interns is you would see the intern and the veteran huddling, and it would be the veteran giving the intern advice. In the last few years, I've noticed it's the interns giving the veterans advice on how to handle new technology. And so there's real power in this information, and you shouldn't forget it.
I'd like to echo to following your passion. Over the years, this isn't the first downturn in jobs, by the way. No surprise there, I guess. But a number of times over the years, I've been here 35 years almost, I've had students come over and say, you know, I went into accounting or engineering or something else, because that's where I was told to go for the job, that's where there's the jobs, that's where their money was, but I hate it. That isn't what I want to do. And I think you have to focus on what it is that you want to do in your life. And so the advice here to find out who you are, first of all, is probably the best advice you can receive. Second is there's a lot of things that you should know. I mean, I mentioned, and several have mentioned, arm yourself with as many skills as possible. You don't leave here without a portfolio. I trust all of you have that. We have the Cleveland Stater and other venues for helping to create that portfolio. That's also important. If you don't have one internship under your belt, you're probably behind someone who has two. That's also important. Don't be afraid to try smaller markets. Remember years ago, I had a kid who almost had no experience. And he went to the back of the editor and publisher and found a whole bunch of jobs in very small towns, Pennsylvania, Ohio, smaller places. It's very hard to wean you people away from the big city. And he said, well, I'm going to get a job. He said, I'm going to go to a small town. And I encouraged him because I was a journalist in smaller market. And indeed, with the PD, you might be able to focus, would probably be focusing. In a small town, you might try everything. And so the better able you are to develop your skills or to exercise the skills you've learned in a situation like that, the better off you are. So there are things you can do. You have to decide who you are and then avail yourself of those opportunities.
I don't really have any other points to make except for one. Certainly everything that everyone has said on the panel thus far is, I think, absolutely accurate. The only other point I would like to make is you need to find a way to nurture your curiosity, because without that curiosity, you cannot find the good stories, and they might even be right under your nose. So my suggestion would be to read everything you can, go to movies, go to theater, participate in the community, go to events, talk to people, be around people who will challenge you intellectually, and become the kind of person that just has to know. And you will be so far ahead of so many people going into journalism who just don't seem to see stories when they're right in front of them.